between the Environment Agency Abu Dhabi and Khalifa University in Abu Dhabi. My name is Oriol Teixido, and we will be presenting with my colleague Dr. Diana Francis from Khalifa University. So first of all, we wanted to give you an introduction about Abu Dhabi Emirate. Abu Dhabi Emirate is the capital emirate of the United Arab Emirates, and we are in the Arabian Gulf region. Abu Dhabi covers 85% of the area of the United Arab Emirates. And it's important to know that the climate in Abu Dhabi is arid, with a subtropical climate that is hot in summers and mild to cool in winters with sporadic rainfall. Also, in Abu Dhabi, we have varied geology, so we have from mountains rising up to 2,000 meters in the east. We have also sandy desert, wadis, and salt flag lakes. About us, myself, I'm working for the Environment Agency Abu Dhabi. This is a government entity, and we are the Middle East's largest environmental regulator with strong focus on protecting and enhancing air quality, groundwater, and the biodiversity of Abu Dhabi desert and marine ecosystems. And with us, we also have Khalifa University and the NGOs lab, which is the Environmental and Geophysical Sciences Lab, dedicated to the study of the environment and the climate. During last year, we know that many changes have happened around the world, and some of them have impacted largely the environment and have impacted the air quality in Abu Dhabi. So first, we wanted to explain which have been the major changes during the COVID-19 in Abu Dhabi. Of course, the largest change was in the transport sector. Here in Abu Dhabi, in mid-March, there was scheduled a lockdown, which reduced mobility in all the sectors for around 40%. After the COVID measures were a little bit eased in the end of June, and this led to a recovery of the transport. In the energy sector, especially, we saw a small reduction also during the same time period, especially for the electricity generation and water desalination. And in the industry, we did not see any major operational changes in 2020. However, we saw a small lower of the emissions compared to the previous years. So these changes on the socio-economic activities, they had a direct impact also on the air pollution in Abu Dhabi Emirate. In the Environment Agency Abu Dhabi, we currently have a large network of 20 air quality stations, and we wanted to know which was the impact of these changes on the air quality. The first thing that we saw is that during the same time period that we had lockdown, there was a large decrease on the concentrations of gas pollutants in Abu Dhabi Emirate. In this graph, we are showing just as an example of the nitrogen dioxide over all our stations, and we can see that once the lockdown started, there was a large decrease. This decrease is approximately around 40% when we compare these concentrations to the concentrations we had before lockdown or we had with previous years. Similar reductions we can see also for other gas pollutants like benzene, CO, SO2, and ozone when we compare it with previous years. The same analysis that we did using our ground measurement stations, we did it checking with the satellite information that we received from Troponi. As you can see in the images below, the first image is the period before lockdown, the second image is during lockdown, so we can clearly see that there was a reduction in these gas emissions. So the next step that we wanted to know is what happened with PM2.5 and PM10. As I said, in this region, PM2.5 and PM10 occur naturally also from dust emissions and sea salt, so we wanted to understand. What we are presenting today is the analysis that we have done using 10 of our quality stations, and we are comparing the data from 2020 to the data from 2016 to 2019. These data we are checking during the lockdown period, which was from 22nd of March to 26th of June. And we are ensuring that more than 75% of data availability is for each year station to make sure that we are comparing data that can be really compared. So for PM2.5, what do we saw? We saw that there was a significantly lower concentration of PM2.5 in 2020 when we compare to the previous years. This was very important and shows that human activities have a direct impact and a direct reduction on the PM2.5 concentration. The second part of the question is, and what happened to PM10? So in PM10, we saw something very different of what we have seen with the gases and what we saw with PM2.5. As of today, we don't see a significant difference between 2020 and the previous years. Even in many of the stations, we can see that there has been an increase of concentration in 2020 compared to the previous years. So at this point of time, we reached to our colleagues from Khalifa University to try to understand from a regional perspective what happened in PM10 and how dust aerosols had an impact on the air quality in Abu Dhabi. So now I would like to hand over to my colleague, Dr. Diana, to continue the presentation.
Thanks very much, Oriol, for this clear presentation. So as Oriol has explained, the changes in PM10 during the lockdown period in 2020 were not as expected, and here we started to investigate the role of natural aerosols, such as dust aerosols and sea salt aerosols, which are known to contribute more than 40% to PM10 concentrations. So I'm showing here maps of dust aerosol optical depths and maps of dust integrated column load. These are taken from MERA2 reanalysis for the month of March to start, because the lockdown was between March and June 2020. So at the first column, I'm showing March 2020 maps. And the second column, I'm showing the reference period that we considered for the study, which considers all the months of March from 2016 to 2019. And the last column is the difference between 2020 and the reference period to see what are the changes. So for positive values, we see the yellow and red colors, and for the negative values here we will see green and blue colors. Okay, as you can see, so for the first row, which is aerosol optical depths, we can see increase in the aerosol optical depths during the lockdown period. These are the yellow patches we can see here, which are affecting actually the UAE. And also regarding the dust load in the atmospheric column, we can see also a large increase in dust activity during this month. Same goes for the month of April, where again we can see increase in dust activity and AOD increase to the north of the UAE. This was also evident in the concentration at the surface for both sea salt and dust. So here again, I'm showing the difference between the situation in 2020 and the reference period. For the month of June, again, large increase in sea salt over the Arabian Gulf, and a large increase also of dust emissions in the countries that are located to the north of the UAE and on the eastern side of the Arabian Peninsula. So after seeing these patterns in the increase in natural aerosol, we wanted to understand what was going on with the circulation during this period compared to the reference period. And here we looked at the ERA 5 reanalysis data for winds and other parameters. And here I'm showing the maps of wind speed at 925 hectopascals in shading, and the vectors are the direction of winds. So these are for the month of June, for example, and again the same plots for June on the left. In the middle is for the reference period 2016 to 2019, and the last column is for 2020 minus the reference period. One prominent feature that we can notice in these maps is the Shamal wind that is intensified during this period. And here you can see it in the yellow colors in this difference plot. So the first hint is that Shamal winds were intensified during the lockdown period. So we checked this also in the surface observations for some stations around the Arabian Gulf. Here I'm showing, for example, for the Kuwait station. So these are the wind speeds. These plots are the months here considered. So this is the lockdown period on the y-axis, and on the x-axis is the time of the day. So what you can notice is for 2020, frequent Shamal wind events represented by these red strips here and occurring during daytime especially. And here is for the reference period. You can see more calm wind during this period. And again, the difference it can show you the increase in Shamal winds intensity and frequency as well. And in addition to Shamal winds, so we noticed that also the southerlies that affect the UAE, especially during summer, with the arrival of the Indian monsoon season, were also intensified during this period. So we had stronger southerlies affecting the southern part of the Arabian Peninsula. And all this hints to higher levels of PM10 as seen here in these maps also for June. And this leads me to these conclusions is that first we showed that during the lockdown period from March to June 2020, we had a drastic reduction in man-made pollutant in the Abu Dhabi Emirate. However, the concentration of PM10 were not decreasing as expected, and investigation into the role of natural aerosol showed that we had increase in dust emission and sea salt emissions, and those were related to stronger Shamal winds during this period, and to stronger southerlies also to the south of the UAE. So what could be the reason for this increase in the wind patterns impacting the UAE? One reason could be the intensification of the Indian summer monsoon circulation. This was already shown and published. That because of lockdown and reduction in pollutant over the South Asia area, we had acceleration of the monsoon circulation. So this is still ongoing investigation and work, and we hope to conclude on it soon and publish it in collaboration with our colleagues at TAD. I would like to thank you for your attention, and hopefully you can get your feedback and questions. Thank you.